I have a problem. As you can probably tell, I'm a little bit too obsessed with cars. Specifically, Japanese cars. Hi guys, you're watching Gears and Gasoline, and I'm Ben. Ever since I first got into cars at the tender age of 16, my first love has always been Japanese cars. In fact, the first car that I ever really wanted was, funnily enough, a Subaru WRX STI, which is somewhat ironic. So rather than try and make a video explaining all the logical reasons why Japanese cars are so popular and certain people are very into the Japanese market, I thought that I would kind of make this more of just a love letter to Japanese cars. And while it's rainy and cold here in Virginia a couple weeks ago when we were in Las Vegas for SEMA, it was neither rainy nor cold. So we sat down with one of my very first friends in the automotive community, John, to talk about why he loves Japanese cars so much.
My name is John, and I drive a 1991 300ZX. I started getting into cars because my dad would make me help him work on his Camaro when I was 12 or 13. I was actually kind of embarrassed by his Camaro because it was flat black, rusty, and the loudest thing ever. It just started becoming really interesting, especially once I got closer to where I could drive. Being able to do something to your car. Fix it, modify it, just drive it around for the fun of it. I started out with a Z31 back in high school, and after a couple of years of driving that, I started looking for the Z32, just because I liked the style of it better, I liked the aftermarket sport of it better. It just felt like a lot more car. It's a 1991 Nissan 300ZX. Started out as a non-turbo, which I swapped to a twin-turbo engine back in 2013. Before that, it was slow as balls. Now it's still kind of slow as balls, but it's a lot more fun. I think it's timeless. Some other people think it looks incredibly dated, but it's all just opinions. It kind of is intangible. I mean, driving the car makes me feel good. Working on it makes me feel good. Making stuff for it makes me feel good. It's just, I think Japanese cars have a lot of character.
If you are familiar with any of the really OG Gears and Gasoline stuff from back in like 2015, then you might be familiar with the name Eric Rapp. We did a video on his WRX way back in the day. So I sat back down with him again for this video to get his take on why he loves Japanese cars so much.
I just always like cars. It was my first word other than mom or dad. So yeah, my name's Eric. I like all things Japanese, mostly cars, but toasters too. It was really not fair because it was Mark IV Supra, FD-RX-7, the Z32, and when the FD came out, that was a car that everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's this amazing car, and they're so fast, and people wreck them on test drives, which is kind of true. And I thought they were amazing. And you'd see them, like it was super exotic looking, and I really liked it. In high school, Speed Channel was Speed Vision, and at super late at night, they would show WRC. And so I got into watching Colin McRae, Tommy Mäkinen, and later Petter Solberg and all those guys drive, and I got into Subarus because of that. Gran Turismo and Gran Turismo 2. I wanted a yellow version 4 STI coupe because of Gran Turismo. I thought it was the best pixelated car I've ever seen in my life. And like guys overseas who would send you like VHS bootleg copies of Hot Version. My first car was a '89 Toyota two-wheel drive pickup. After that it was a '96 Tacoma, oddly enough. And after that it was a 2000 Tacoma. There was a '93 Eclipse GSX, and I couldn't afford my insurance, so back to slow trucks for a while. Bug-Eye Impreza sedan. 1 year stint with a Volkswagen, which I don't recommend. Then I had an '07 Impreza Outback Sport, 2005 Forester XT, 2010 Honda Civic Si sedan, 2007 Hawkeye wagon. So I sold that and I bought a 2010 STI Special Edition, which kind of one of those dream cars, like Gran Turismo style. I wanted an STI. It was awesome. And now I have a 2015 Scion FRS, which is weird in the fact that it's a Scion, because I was always like, I'll buy a BRZ, but even stock, it's ridiculously fun to drive. I just wanted something that when I walked out to it, it spoke to me. There's nothing I can say that's like, oh my gosh, you have to get a Japanese car because it does this, this, and this better. You buy a car because you like it. You buy a car because it says something to you. When I walk outside and I see that car, I'm like, sweet, that's mine, I like it.
Now, you guys may remember at the beginning of the video, we opened things up with a scene of me rather creepily searching for cars online, and while that scene does bear a little bit more resemblance to reality than I would like to admit, it was played for laughs. However, like all comedy, it is based in real life, which got me thinking about the absolute mecca of Japanese import impulse buying, Driver Motorsport.
I'm Chris Driver, the owner of Driver Motorsports, and we import cars from Japan, bring them into the States, fix them up, and sell them. I personally look for the cars, and we have someone in Japan that can actually be on the ground checking the cars out for us. So we bring the cars here to the States and go through them thoroughly. We check everything out mechanically. We fix any existing issues, make sure the customer, when they buy the car, they don't have to work on it immediately. We want to make sure that it's showroom condition. You know, you can take it to a car show the next day. Our car of choice is the Nissan Skyline. GTRs, some GTSTs, but mostly the GTRs is, you know, our bread and butter car. I mean, the cars, you know, they are 25 years old or older. They have to be for us to import them legally into the States. A lot of the cars that we get in have low miles, you know, 50,000 miles, 40,000 miles. And I mean, the Japanese people are more fastidious and they take care of their items a lot better than people in the United States. I mean, it's the truth. You know, people, they don't care that they're 25 years old. They're just in love with these cars and they have a passion for it because they grew up on Gran Turismo. They grew up on Fast and Furious. It's kind of like they're face to face with their childhood hero. Japanese cars from the late 80s to the early 2000s are just some of the best engineered vehicles ever made. You know, Italian, German, what have you. They're, to me, hands down, the best cars that have ever been made.
Like, they were never a Mercedes, they were never a BMW, they were never a Porsche, but the technology that went into them, like, we're gonna take all of this cool race technology and we're gonna make this into our cars. You know, hey, I've got a base Civic with dual wishbone suspension all the way around, and you know, it's super fun to drive. It was built by engineers, not by accountants, kind of thing. Like, it seemed like there was passion behind it. Like, there was something that they wanted from it, and they wanted the car to be fun to drive, and they wanted it to be their best work. And I think that was the part that got me.
We always look to the Japanese to see what they're doing with their cars. They definitely like to be different, like unconventional when it comes to modifying their cars over there.
Racing beat exists because of rotaries. The heartbeat, and that's the thup, 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 thup. That's where that comes from. Spoon, when I was a kid, I'm like, what the hell is Spoon? Do Luck, Top Secret, Car Shop Glow, Car Station Marsh, Aqua. Oh, I'm gonna go buy that new Lonesome Carboy deck for my car so I can play like the dopest mini discs. It's a culture that frowns upon standing out. It's, you know, like, that's, you know, you're not supposed to stand out from the crowd kind of thing. And car people, and like most of the world, like, want to be different, want to express themselves through, like, that's their form of artwork, that's their form of self-expression. And so those companies exist because someone thought the exact same thing, and like, I want to do this, and we're gonna make this, and this is our outrageous name that's gonna, people are gonna be like, all right, that's crazy, and let's go for it.
I definitely believe that we have a sustainable business model because of the enthusiasts that are out there. You know, the number of people wanting to buy these cars far outweighs the supply. Because of that, I believe we're going to have many more years of growth in this industry because of the huge fan base and just people that love these JDM vehicles. Just being able to be around these cars and work on them, it's just awesome. It's fun. It's my dream come true.
I think there will always be a younger generation that becomes interested in the, to them, classic JDM cars, because that's what they will be by then.
I understand that some of you guys might not really be Japanese car enthusiasts, and that all this might seem a little bit overblown and kind of weird to you, and I totally understand that. But for me, the cars that Japan has brought us over the years have hit me and influenced me in ways that literally nothing else in my life has. And I don't think that that's something I'm ever going to grow out of.
I don't know, there's no actual reason I can say you have to like this or this is better, because I just like it. Like, it's just, to me, there's that little part that just says, this is what I like and I want to be good at it. Like, this is what I like and I want to keep at it. This is what makes me happy every single day. I guess I don't grow out of it. I think it's just kind of me.
Yeah. The sideways entry just hop.
Yeah, like, and it's like a, you know, a four-wheel slide. Like, they're just gonna go in. Yeah, no, every time I watch it, I'm like, as much as I like watching them drive tune cars, that's talking about, like, he's like, serious.